You're watching Tennessee Titans today. I am Tom Downey. Some breaking news, roster moves being made by Tennessee. But first, a message from Derrick Henry, the Titans running back himself. He says be a real one like him and subscribe to Titans today, or, he probably said that. So if you want to be like King Henry, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. This is Tennessee Titans Today. I am Tom Downey. 5 players have been cut by Tennessee, announced officially as part of roster cuts, and another late-breaking move, bit of a surprise one. Lonnie Johnson, the former Chiefs and Texans corner, defensive back, safety, do-it-all guy, he has been claimed and awarded to Tennessee off of waivers following the Chiefs releasing him yesterday. The former second-round pick was a member of the Texans, has played nickel corner, outside corner, safety, where he might play the most for Tennessee. We'll see. Traded from the Texans to the Chiefs this offseason, and I believe another move to be determined will still need to be made. Maybe even before this video goes out in the middle of filming, we'll find out here on Tennessee Titans Today. Johnson's made some splash plays in the past for Houston, a second-round pick out of Kentucky all those years ago. The problem was the consistency. 3 interceptions, six pass breakups he's had. He also got beat a lot more frequently than what I think anyone would have liked in Tennessee. So I'm very curious where Johnson will end up playing. You could see a situation where he plays some corner. I think safety's a real possibility as well. For the time being, I threw him in at nickel corner. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays safety, but they're kind of deep at safety already on the roster, so I penciled him in for now at nickel corner, but even more depth for an already pretty deep group in the Titans secondary. All right, on now to the cuts made today by Tennessee. First of 3 cut-down days, from 90 to 85 today, August 16th, from 85 to 80 next Tuesday, and then 53-man roster cuts on August 30th, and that'll be your roster minus some more minor tweaks. Let's break down the 5 cuts then. Some notable names today, including Josh Malone, who we had hyped up before here on Titans Today, had a very strong training camp, a strong OTAs, mini camp, etc. And then, well, he only played 16 snaps at receiver, which is still, more than Racey McMath, Kyle Phillips. I think that was more indication of where they're at. Brandon Lewis outsnapped him, and Malone ends up getting cut kind of surprisingly quickly. He had drawn a lot of good praise at OTAs and minicamp, and it wasn't enough for him to make the roster. That's a big boost for guys like Dez Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, etc. I am a little bit surprised that given the positive reviews we had been hearing out of Josh Malone leading up to Titans preseason, that he's already on the cut list. He hasn't done much in his NFL career, obviously. 11 catches, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. Not a ton from that perspective, but he was impressive. He was playing well, and I thought he might get another shot, and clearly ends up not being the case in the end. So Tennessee starting to really thin out the wide receiver core. You'll still see plenty of Burks and Phillips, etc. in the preseason. So the pinned comment on today's show, would you have cut Josh Malone already? Y for yes, N for no. This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad break happens to come here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know, Y or N. One of the more notable, at least recognizable UDFAs also cut. Haskell Garrett, the defensive lineman out of Ohio State. His time as a member of the organization is over, and probably with the timing of when he got cut, really hurts the chances of him making the practice squad as well. He played 17 snaps in the Titans preseason opener. He was pretty productive last year for Ohio State, but he was outsnapped by Jaden Peavy, and honestly, going back and watching, he did not fare very well in the preseason. I think that's a big reason why he's been released. He was always on the outside looking in. Laurel Murchison, I think, had a better chance of making that team, even though he's on the roster. Well, I think Jaden Peavy, clearly now, is the UDFA to keep an eye out for as things relate to that back end of the defensive line depth chart. Now, if you want this awesome Titans t-shirt combo, get it going. Chatsports.com/Titans combo. 2 t-shirt combo pack is available. 40% off at chatsports.com/Titans combo. Get yours today. Links in the comments section, and it's in the description of today's show. Another notable name, Jordan Wilkins, the running back, has been released as Tennessee going with some of the undrafted free agents on the roster at the position. Julius Chestnut, of course, Hassan Haskins as well. Wilkins played some last year, bouncing around the NFL, but didn't really do much of anything. Interesting to note that Wilkins actually outsnapped Chestnut in the preseason game. I thought Chestnut, ignoring the raw numbers, even potentially to an extent in the preseason game, outplayed Wilkins. But in the end, not the route they choose to go from that, which I found pretty interesting. I'll make note, preseason snap-wise, I got my numbers pulled up here. Chestnut at 7 for 44 carries. Wilkins was more involved as like a pass, but only had 1 carry, so more snaps for Wilkins, but far less production. In the end, he's going to go somewhere else beyond Tennessee. He has been cut after being a relatively productive football player in his NFL career, just under 5 yards per carry, which I found quite interesting that he ends up getting cut. So Dontrell Hilliard is still there. Hassan Haskins is still there. Keep an eye on Trenton Cannon as well. And Julius Chestnut, also still member of the Titans in terms of the players on the roster at running back. All right, over to the offensive line. Heavy offensive line cuts here. Carson Green, the former Texans offensive line, the team picked him up not that long ago. He ends up getting cut as well as Tennessee. You don't see that many offensive linemen end up getting released, but Green had played 34 snaps. They had some depth along the defensive line or offensive line. You're going to play Christian Delario some. You're going to play a lot still of Dylan Radins and Nicholas Petit-Frere. You didn't need to carry 6 offensive tackles, or even, I should say, 7 offensive tackles, if you include Willie Wright to an extent, who's more of a guard. But you had depth along the offensive line. Green was always highly, highly, highly unlikely to bring him in and to make the 53-man roster, so I can't say I'm surprised from that perspective that Green's ended up getting cut. The real surprises for me were Garrett Malone and Jordan Wilkins. One more name coming. Before we get there, how many years have you been a Titans fan? Is it 1? Is this your first year? Have you been here for your entire life? Let me know in the comments how many years you've been repping the Tennessee Titans. A little snip, snap on the final one. Deante Burton, maybe in light of the move to add Lonnie Johnson as part of it, he has been waived. Now, that's noteworthy because he was just signed. So more on that in a second, but first, of the 5 moves made by Tennessee from today, the 5 cuts that have been reported, which one surprised you the most? For me, it is Josh Malone. I did not think he was not going to make the team, or at least get cut, or I think he'd be a prime practice squad guy. Ends up not being the case. He gets cut. But let me know who you have as the most surprising Tennessee Titans roster cut. I think maybe Deante Burton is surprising too, since he was signed on Saturday, cut on Tuesday. Didn't even get a full week of him in Tennessee. Flies in, stays a couple nights in a hotel, and then ends up leaving. Kind of brutal for Burton to get signed and then get cut so quickly again. Not sure why in the end, but again, maybe the addition of Lonnie Johnson is playing a role from that perspective. So Burton, 5th player cut by the Tennessee Titans today. As the big news, of course, the addition of Lonnie Johnson, which I find quite interesting from that perspective. He has a chance, at least, to make this 53-man roster. If you have not already, I am once again asking you to do what Derrick Henry did and subscribe to Tennessee Titans Today, or probably did. I think the lawyers are making me say that. YouTube.com/Titans Today. We will break down every single roster cut in each of the 3 stages, so we'll be back again next Tuesday. Plus, I got daily videos for you guys. What more are you waiting for? Hit that big red button and subscribe right now.